Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. Today belongs to Orumila Barami Agbamiregun. This is Oseifa. And so I greet all you, Awo Orumila, Awo Raboye. I pray that your obi has been accepted. Ashe. And today I want to share a lesson with you on one of the key elements and distinguishing features of Ifa priesthood. As an educator, I have been particularly drawn to Ifa, and I mean Ifa, not in the general sense that some people refer to the West African tradition as Ifa. I'm talking about the Society of Orumila devotees, the institution that is Ifa learning, practice, service, etc. And it has drawn my attention because it represents a very complex and pristine indigenous learning discipline. So if you don't know, Yoruba society is built on an apprenticeship model. I didn't intend to go into all this, but you got to understand the backdrop. Meaning every family compound has its own craft. It could be carving, it could be weaving, it could be metalwork, it could be Ifa priesthood. And when you get to about 7 years old, you will start to apprentice with your father if you're a boy, or you start to apprentice with your mother if you're a girl. And in the case of Ifa, however, they would have known that the child was designated to become a babalawo at birth, but the father would train the child up until he's about 7. And then at that point, the father will take his son to another babalawo's compound. And he would turn his son over to that other babalawo, and the child would stay there for maybe 15 or more years, where he would serve as an apprentice. Okay? And so this fascinated me because it's like a boarding school educational system that starts at age 5 instead of, where we would probably find it in the West, more typical by around high school and then college. And so that's what got my attention. But for those of us who are born and raised in the West, that looks radically different. First of all, we're coming into this usually in our 20s at the earliest. Most people are probably getting introduced to this seriously when they're in their 30s, maybe in their 40s. So being sent by your father to go live with another babalawo is way out of the question. You probably have a family by the time you got introduced to Ifa, right? So the process of choosing a teacher and becoming a student is very different for you as an adult learner. All right. So you are an adult learner. This is important for you to start to understand. If you want to get a better sense of this in the academic, context, go look up the particular attributes of adult learners, because that's what's really primarily taking place with us. We're dealing with adult learners, and adult learners are different from school-age children. Okay. But what I want to emphasize right now is the fact that even though we're adult learners, the dynamic remains very much the same, in the sense that you're familiar with the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, in your case, you were probably ready as a student, like I said, in your late 20s, your early 30s, right? And you may have fumbled around and stumbled around and gone through this and gone through that for 6 months or 6 years before you actually came into contact with the person who would become your actual teacher. All right. And in that process, you had to choose, hey, I want this person to be my teacher. Hey, I want this person to be my teacher. I want this person to be my teacher. And your criteria for choosing is what I want you to take into consideration first and foremost. This is the very beginning of the actual lesson, okay? How you choose your teacher in the beginning of your process, in the beginning of your journey, is probably problematic, right? You're choosing your teacher based on what is going to be safe for you. You're choosing your teacher based on some trauma you had. You're trying to recover from some kind of a religious trauma, some kind of, the trauma of being broke, grown up poor, right? You're trying to recover from some kind of a crisis in your life, right? But because that's what the nature of crisis is. If you look at it archetypally, the hero's journey is about the ways in which the wound make way for you to discover the gift. So it makes sense that it's through some kind of a trauma or the pursuit of a remedy of a trauma that you end up looking and searching for something that's going to take you to the next level. It's going to help you transcend this problem that you're having. And that's how you choose. But you may not be ready to make the kind of choice that's going to take you all the way. Let me say that again. It's natural that crisis is what prompts you to start looking, to send you on the quest. But you got to understand that in that state of mind, you're probably not in the best position. You're probably not in any position to choose a teacher who is going to actually be equipped and adept to take you all the way on the journey. You're probably going to choose a teacher that feels safe to you. You're probably going to choose a teacher that's going to make you feel comfortable, right? And that seems to make sense. But in the climate that we're in right now, when you choose a teacher who's making you comfortable, 9 times out of 10, that person is pandering to you. 9 times out of 10, that person is just blowing sunshine and taking your money. I hate to say it, but that's what your problem is right now. You're choosing people that look safe. And they are safe because they're doing business. They're not transforming lives. They're not healing the sick, right? They are giving you palliative remedies, not curative remedies. All right. Palliative remedies are ones that just cover the surface. They just cover the surface. They don't go into the root of the problem and help you to really transform your life. Okay. And so the other way that it happens is that your teacher will choose you. That's the other end of the equation where we say that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The teacher will appear because the teacher recognizes that you have the potential to actually accomplish something. But the teacher can also see you in the context of 360 degrees of possibilities. I myself, for example, I talk to thousands and thousands of people. No exaggeration, because of the nature of my work. Thousands and thousands of people. Over the years, tens of thousands of people. So when I look at my students, I'm looking at them in the spectrum of tens of thousands of students over 30 years. And I'm seeing different things, and I'm recognizing different things, and I'm noticing different things. And I'm seeing what your potential is. I'm seeing what the competition is. The competition in terms of the environment that you live in. You live in this era. Hey, if you had been around 25 years ago, you'd have been on top. But today is a whole different world. You're going to have to do something radically different. And based on who you are and what the environment you are in, I can see what your big liabilities are. You could do A, B, C, or D. However, you've got 1, 2, and 3 liabilities. These things are going to stop you from being able to flourish in this environment, especially given the fact that Orisha lifestyle is 100% gatekeeping. It is 100% gatekeeping. You can be around, you could be present when things are happening, but I, as your master, I don't have to say your name at that particular time. When the moment presents itself for certain things to happen, I don't have to invoke your name. When the time comes to pass something on, I don't have to give it to you. And if I don't give it to you, you don't get it. That's the way this tradition works. Nobody's going to give it to you if you don't demonstrate the real aptitude for managing it. And you can think of it as the nuclear power. Let's make it as an analogy. Okay? If I have the button, right? And I can give you the button, and I know what you could do with the button, I got to be very careful. I got to be very careful. I just can't give you the button. I can't. Other people who have the button are not going to let me just give you the button. It's not just, oh, just be by myself. I'm going to decide that I'm going to give you the button. No. So it is absolutely gatekept or gatekept. You need to know that. And I, as the one who's going to give you something, who's going to expose you to something, who's going to invoke your essence when certain things are happening, I need to test you in order to really determine what you're made of. To really determine if you cherish the thing that I cherish about the power that I am potentially going to give to you. And that was one of the key lessons that we got from Ifa today. Ifa tells us of a time where Orunmila was in the company of all the deities. And he went to consult Ifa on a day like this, or say Ifa. And the owl said, Orunmila, you need to mind the company that you keep. Orunmila thought about the company that he keeps. He said, whoa, he's thinking of all the Orisha. And he's thinking about what good times they have and how they work together and all the things that they do to resolve problems. But they said, Orunmila, make the sacrifice, and then you're going to test out your environment. You're going to take two 2-opon beads, these green and brown beads. You're going to tie them around, you're going to get a goat, and you're going to tie these beads around the goat's neck. And you're going to, keep this goat and set him, free in the neighborhood. Orunmila made the sacrifice. He tied the beads around the goat. He set the goat out. One day the goat goes past Ogun's house. Ogun sees the goat. And then he sees the 2-opon beads on the goat. He looks around. He doesn't see Orunmila nearby. He says, that's Orunmila's goat. I know by the beads. Ogun picks up a piece of iron. Bang! Injures the goat. The goat runs off. A little while later, goat wanders in front of Shango's place. Shango sees the goat. I can see those 2-opon beads. That's Orunmila's goat. Shango picks up a stone and tags that goat. Goat is hobbling, both legs, He goes past Obatala's house, Obaluaye's house, Orisha, past all the Orisha's house. They notice the beads. They see Orunmila's not around, and they do something, and they harm the goat. The goat is just all broken up. It was, he's bleeding. He's got knots on his head. His legs broken. He finally wanders by Eshu's house. Eshu sees the goat hobbling around. He notices the 2-opon beads. Eshu brings the goat in. Eshu cares for the goat. He feeds the goat. He nurtures the goat. He brings the goat back to health. Then he brings the goat back to Orunmila. He said, Orunmila, this is your goat. I found him some while ago. He was all beat up. I didn't want to take him back to you in that condition. So I nursed him back to health. But here, this is your goat, and I want you to know that I'm going to look out for your goat from now on. Now, Orunmila, the beads were like a tracking device. Orunmila could see where the goat had been. He could see who was doing what. what their temperament really was when he wasn't present. Ifa says that you gotta be discerning. You can trust, but you gotta verify. So it is with the master. So it is with the teacher. The teacher has to know beyond the shadow of a doubt who you are, where you're coming from, what you're going to do under a variety of different circumstances, which means the teacher's going to test you. And every student gets a different test. There's some uniform exercises, but every student gets a specific test. For one student, the test might be to be quiet, stop talking. For another student, it might be stop being quiet, open your mouth. For another student, it might be slow down, you're going too fast. For another student, it might be speed up, you're moving too slow. Every student is going to get a different test, but no matter what, the best students get the hardest tests. So going back to what I was saying before, if you are choosing your teacher based on who's going to coddle you, but you happen to have more than average potential, and your teacher is putting you to the test, challenging you, making you uncomfortable, demanding things from you that you don't really want to give because they take you out of your comfort zone, you end up a mediocre practitioner. You end up a mediocre student. Because you're going with comfort and convenience out of an immediate need. This is a very challenging set of circumstances. The only solution that I can propose for you as an African-American seeker is to take your time. Begin with your natural gifts and talents. Really get comfortable and clear about who you are and what you bring to the table. Find somebody who you want to give those talents to. Find someone who you don't mind giving what you have and what you can do freely, and then do so. That will give you the opportunity to observe, to discern, to search your soul, to get real clear about what you're looking for, to get a good look at who you're working with, how they work with other people, what they're bringing out in other people, what they bring out in you, etc. You get time. You need to take your time so that you know what you're choosing and you're really, really ready to make that commitment. Because once you commit to your teacher, right, it's a lifelong thing. This isn't like going to middle school and this was my middle school, science teacher. No, when you recite your Ijuba for the rest of your life, you invoke the name of this person. Right? That's why we have Ijuba first. It reminds us and reinforces for us over and over and over and over and over again the nature of the relationship between student and teacher and what it means that when the student is ready, the teacher appears and how the two of them go together into perpetuity. So this is a lesson for the leaders. If you're someone who's really, really clear about your interest and your commitment to improve the world through positive influence, I want you to find out how Oloye Obafemi Origuwa and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice and your life to the highest level possible. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com. Let's start working together so we can help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you are destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Odabo.